So the Bible reading, it was about temptation. Just prior to beginning his public ministry, and just after he was baptized by his cousin John, Jesus spent time in the wilderness. During that time of preparation, he was tested. One of those tests involved Jesus having the opportunity to become a great leader over all he surveyed. And instead of rationalizing that he could do so much good if he were just in charge of governmental systems, Jesus reminded the tester that his mission was about loving and serving God rather than becoming a governmental leader. Because Jesus' aim wasn't about leadership in this world at all. Had Jesus recognized the influence he could have as a governmental leader, he would have been in good company. Regardless of the background of how they came into power, kings or other governmental leaders could effect great change and even do enormous good because of their power, because of the power of the office. The test revealed early on in Jesus' ministry that he wasn't following that path. Jesus consistently refused to be swayed by the temptation of taking over governmental leadership. I mean, during Jesus' time on earth, many expected him to swoop in and take over the government by installing a system with him as the ruler. He would arrive in power and under the threat of violence or actual violence, he would seat himself as ruler. After all, the anointed one was understood to be the king. The anointed one ruled over his subjects. The anointed one deserved obedience. The anointed one had the authority and the power of God on earth. And then Jesus responded to these kinds of expectations with actions that seemed completely upside down to the people of the time. And they seem upside down to many Christians today, too. When Jesus walked the earth, followers and detractors alike were amazed, astonished, frustrated, and angered by what Jesus did. He refused time and time again to move toward a takeover of the government because that wasn't his mission. And it still isn't his mission. Here we are in a time of upheaval, locally, nationally, all over the world. And too often we present Christianity, or the Christian faith, as the solution to all of the world's problems and a way to find peace. But the gospel tells things differently. Jesus didn't shy away from difficult topics, and he had many interactions that we would not want to be involved in today because they involve conflict. And yet here's Jesus in today's Bible reading in the wilderness being tempted. It's contentious, and he was pressured to conform to a way that wasn't God's way. He said no. He resisted every temptation. Rather than avoid, he charged ahead. Jesus was not afraid to advocate on behalf of the marginalized, the oppressed, and the forgotten. And as we journey through Lent, he calls us to do that, to do the same, to advocate on behalf of the marginalized, the oppressed, and the forgotten. Jesus did not seek power and glory. And as we journey through Lent, Jesus calls us to do the same, not to seek glory. Jesus spoke up, showed up, and sometimes Jesus acted up. And as we journey through Lent, Jesus calls us to do the same, to show up, to speak up, and to sometimes act up. Sometimes I see today, and I see that there's this renewed anticipation of a warrior king to turn up powerfully and to set things right. Sort of a commingling of purported Christian values and a desire for political power that have created a Jesus who doesn't care for the marginalized, but Jesus cares about lower taxes and more greed. It's created a Jesus who cares not about unconditional love, but rather punishing enemies. It's a dangerous commingling, and it shows Jesus as someone who is disdainful of equality and of the common good while caring very much for paying attention to whom someone loves or what a family has to look like. This anticipation of a warrior king, it sees this created Jesus as the one who will take over. He'll preach wealth to the wealthy, prison for the marginalized, rebellion for medical interventions for the sick and vulnerable, and to proclaim a free-for-all when it comes to corporate greed. Government takeovers, wealth for the wealthy, prison for the agitators, rebellion against medical treatment and intervention, and a free-for-all of corporate greed. That's not the way Jesus works. The ideology of the pursuit of power that is far too present in Christianity really repels me. It's one of the reasons that, while I remain committed to follow Jesus and to work within Christianity, I work for both a just and peaceful world Jesus envisions, and against the caustic rhetoric and policies of those who want Jesus to show up and take over. Calls for a government headed by Jesus run contrary to the life and teachings of Jesus. I know that there are many who think that's what Jesus is, but I don't recognize a Christianity like that. I don't want to be a part of Christianity that does that. So let's be the church this Lent. Also, always. But let's commit or recommit ourselves to following the way of Jesus. The way, which is the name of Christianity before it was even called Christianity. We were called the followers of the way. To living out love, to working for a just and peaceful world, and to advocating for the marginalized, the outcast, and the forgotten. And through it all, let us remember that we may not, or likely won't, do it right all of the time. And we may not succeed at all. Still, we're called to follow Jesus, to live out love, to work for that just and peaceful world, to advocate for the marginalized, the outcast, and the forgotten. And also to remember that God's love and grace are sufficient. God's love and grace are unconditional. God's love and grace are eternal. And therefore, everyone. No exceptions. God's grace. May it be so. Amen.